The question I'm asking myself this week is dollar pairs going to peak? Is indices going to peak? But first, earlier this week we posted some trades in the group and also in the streams. So we are up about 100 on CAD yen. We are about 100 on Aussie yen. Sorry. And then CAD yen, we are about 100 there as well. 180 on New Zealand yen. About 100 again on pound, and euro yen went to losses. So it's been a very profitable week. So those were posted in Discord and we discussed here in the live streams earlier this week. So make sure you are joining those. Now, for Australian dollar, US dollar, it is, if you go back to 2020, we did peak around 1st of September. That is really important for me to be like, okay, is that something we're going to do this year as well? And that is also the same thing for the indices. Is are we going to have a bit of a draw, have a bit of a fall before rising again? Because I am ultimately dollar bearish, and what the market has kind of done so far is that he has priced in for the next meeting, 18th of September, is we're going to have most likely one rate cut. But we are still tickling the idea of two rate cuts. I think that's a bit too much with two rate cuts, but that's going to be a question by the end of the week because we have NFP by the end of the week, and that will, I guess, will be the catalyst for either one or two. So because we have changed from looking a lot at inflation and then looking over to labor market. So labor market on Friday is going to be absolutely crucial now go for the way going forward. So I would argue that we are probably peaking on some of these pairs now. Now, seasonality or so for at least for election years says we should fall from around 1st of September. And if you get lower lows and lower highs, there you go. The only problem that I have with this idea is that against my bias, it's against my fundamentals. It also is what retail is currently doing, and they are probably going to be wrong. So I don't really trust. I'm not invested in this idea yet, but I am invested in the idea of S&P 500 going lower, even though we have peaked or paused. I mean, sorry, and I have said if it goes below 55555, that is probably more like a short-term opportunity to sell until like mid-September, end of September, kind of October, type of situation somewhere in this area. That's the main idea that I have. And if this continues higher and forever, sure, could. The only problem with higher forever is the fact that we have an election this year, and we are at some point going to price in or pause whatever we have priced, whatever we have done this year, because it's been a fantastic 2024 with a year to date of around 20% and average is around 9. So we kind of afford to drop about 10%. I don't think 10% is the word, but I definitely think that 5 to 15, which becomes 10, somewhere at least 5% at the bare minimum should be a bit of a low mid or end September. And secondly, I also think that November, about first or second or third, is going to be a low as well, around the same low. So kind of what I'm expecting here is that now you have my expectation, and then we'll also see if that is going to happen. So if that materializes, that is a short-term sell opportunity, or as I would say, a buy opportunity a bit later down the road. That is for S&P, that is for Nasdaq, and that is the same idea for US 30. I'm not too sure about Russell, but you get the idea. So for dollar, I believe that we are, well, as Bollout has previously said in my streams, is that, oh, we're going to go higher, and I was probably like down here somewhere, and that's okay. And I said I needed to see it break that high, and it did. Okay, so I'm a bit late to the class, or am I? I'm not late to class. I am according to class. Now, according to class, we should either buy that or a deeper pullback and then buy again. And this one can continue higher again, for forever, for that matter. But it's against my fundamental bias, and that I don't like that situation. So I am so far gonna let it go, and take it a bit, give it a bit of time to think about it, because we had for Aussie, for example, we had inflation coming in a bit lower for July compared to June. So it's like, okay, are we still gonna be that bullish? Are we gonna go bearish again? And the fact that we have now finally made a lower low slightly, or so equal low as I call it, meaning that we are generally speaking in the same area. Now we need to break that again. And if we break that again, now we can start talking. But if you see at the EMAs for that matter, or if you look at the 1 hour EMAs, they have just started to break. That means that we are very early in a potential reversal on the Australian dollar. And if we do so, I believe we can go down to 67.20 this week, if that is kind of a possibility. But again, it's not something that I'm on the top of my radar. Euro dollar, another one that has done the reversal already come over, both on the 4 hour, 1 hour, and now also 4 hour, as about to happen, and that's probably going to continue into next week. Uh, and for the next week, I believe that the only good thing to do here is to look for a sell on central, meaning pull back tomorrow on Monday, and then continue lower, all the way down to excuse me, yeah, 10 so 109. 109.17 as your first target. And this is just a pullback. This is just, short term volatility more than anything else, or take profit of the absolute strong uptrend. So, just take those as a grain of salt. That's kind of your target down there. And then it can continue lower. But then in my kind of book, I think we're going to go higher again. We're going to end up higher anyways. So, we're gonna breach 112. I just don't know when that is going to happen. Is that going to happen now in November? Sorry, it's going to happen in November, or is it going to happen September? It depends on the market, by the way. Pound again has also peaked, or paused the aggressive uptrend. So that's another goodie for a short. Again, it's like a fundamental bias. It is not what I believe we should be doing, but something like that. Okay, I'll look into it. I'll see if I can allocate some money to it, but it's not really my first priority. Same thing with New Zealand dollar, has not breached yet, so it's still very bullish. Dollar CAD has made a bottom so far, and then the only difference now is to break 135 for an upside direction. And Euro New Zealand, I never catch this one, but it has been a very good trend to the downside, but it has been beyond my abilities. Now, Australian dollar, Japanese yen. As I said, we have some profits in here from the lows here. As you can see here, we bought around here, which is higher high, higher low situation around the date I was expecting, and then it kind of double tipped, and then it went higher. Thank you very much in the end. I believe we are probably going to peak. So New York Tuesday is kind of my deal here. After that, I'll be very concerned. We might continue higher, and I might get in like a day trade, like on a Wednesday, if we continue higher. But even that is a bit ridiculous thought process. I mean, because it's supposed to continue higher. So we have almost breached this range that is here, and for tomorrow, we have about M4 about 99.50, which is the target for the pivot points. But I'm not going to care too much about that, because it depends more of which of the yen pairs on Tuesday hits weekly target. So if that is Aussie, if that is Canadian dollar, for example, that almost hit that on Friday. I'm just gonna ride this one. This one is not gonna it's not gonna give me any other buying opportunities. If this one now turns bearish on Wednesday or Thursday, now that is but another opportunity for a sell. Uh, if you are yen bullish. And what do I talk about is that back in 2020, all pairs. So that is SPX, that is dollar, That is yens. I can't even spell yen, but yeah, yens, dollar, all peaked around, so we say around here. And for CAD yen, it just went into a range and it didn't kind of drop in the in the first place. But if you see like any drops below the previous higher low, yeah, that is definitely an exit. And then it turned out to be around 23rd, 24th, 25th is kind of like the bottom. So there is a whole time, like there is a lot of space between the peak and the bottom. Yet again, here illustrated with Australian dollar, Japanese yen, peaking around Monday, Tuesday, just quite a straight up from 24th Monday, and then a peak, and then all of these are just selling opportunities. Technically, that is if you are agreeing with the Bank of Japan about being bullish and all those things. So euro yen has made a low, has kind of made like a pullback. So I believe it shouldn't do more than kind of that kind of a situation where we come up to resistance and then fall off. So we are at the end of that one, and then pound yen. To apologize, it almost breaks higher. That worries me, because if I'm going to think like if this was just purely technically, no other added juice to this is that we are peaking here. Like, so this is going to continue for a long time. This is not the end. So there is that. There is technical analysis right now that says once we break this range, we're gonna have quite a party to the upside. The other problem is that if we peak on all the other currencies, this is also going to affect the yens, no matter how you like it or not. And then the last thing for New Zealand has turned into this bullish trend that you can kind of expect on out of these kind of range bound breakouts. And also New Zealand is in its own did hit early target last week, did a bit of an extra one on Friday. I think it's going to continue a bit more. But Aussie yen and New Zealand yen is always the first ones that gives you the signs of something that's about to pause or break or whatever, right? For oil, my bearish. I knew it. When did I do that? I don't know. I can't remember when I did that. I did that somewhere on last week where I'm like, I think that's gonna come back up to here, and sure it did. It's funny. Anyways, I am bearish. There has been a bit of interesting week. Last week was Libya was all of a sudden stopping production. Saudi came in, and then now Iraq said, "Well, we are going to cut production worth the same thing as Libya was lending, which is around 500,000 barrels a day." But then the problem is, market will just then send it lower. Why? Because we have priced in one, the supply shock, then the demand shock. Sorry, then the demand shock, and then sorry, supply shock to lack of, and then added, and then lack of, and then that eventually will turn bearish, and we will continue fall, because that's just how things is when you have a shock going higher, meaning like you have supply falling away. That means that buyers on oil takes profit because it goes quickly higher, and then it falls because there are less buyers in the market because they took profit, because that everybody knows how to trade oil, is that's like a exit, get out, get out of here. Anyways, gold. We had a little of a pullback on Friday. I really like that one. So if I can get a even bit more bearish gold, I will be very happy. I'm overall bullish on it. I'm overall thinking this one should go higher. If 40, 24.60, or if I might higher low, like something different. We have tested this level already. We are already back to the same level. I don't like that, especially when we are this range type situation. Why don't you like that? I mean, because gold, when it comes down to a level, it says, okay, thank you, and then drops. Okay. It doesn't like levels. So the kind of the summary for this week is continuing my yen trades that I've posted with you guys. And then the dollar pairs to peak, so that's under fresh new trading opportunity for this week, and then the same thing for S&P, a Nasdaq, a US 30, Dow. So that should be, quite a good trading opportunities going into next week. And then remember, 18th of September is the FOMC, and on Friday there is an FP, but then there is a lot of extra juice. So just make sure that you follow in the calendar.